Technology from the Legislative Assembly from Ontario, Canada, Mr. Robert Eberhardt. He will be presenting the initiatives on modernization of the Legislative Assembly of his city and country. Muito bem.
Welcome back from lunch, and what a better way to, after lunch, to talk about AI transcriptions. If this doesn't put you to sleep, I mean, like, nothing will, but hey, listen, I have to say it. So anyways, thank you very much. Just a little bit of an introduction, as I mentioned in my previous one. I'm relatively new to the affairs of legislative business. So during my presentation, I would be emphasizing areas that they are kind of new to me and they might be obvious to you. So please bear with me. I'm like, if I talk about some things that, you know, they might be common knowledge for everybody except me. So with that, let's get started. We're going to be talking about basically two projects that my teams have been working on. One is doing AI transcriptions for the assembly business, and the other one is the use. We started a little bit of a project, although it's in its infancy, about the applicability of generative AI in legislative research. So a little bit of background, everything has, like, you know, all this, you know, AI has been used in assemblies already, especially in Canada, British Columbia, and Ottawa at the federal level. They're already using it. And originally, we explore other types of speech recognition, although none of those proved to be accurate enough for the business that we needed. A little bit of, again, this is when the obvious stuff start coming. I mean, like, for those that don't know, we call it Hansard. Hansard is the transcriptions of the sessions. What we do is it's a relative verbatim, slightly edited, where they remove like thanks and things like that. Everything else, it's included there. We're a bilingual parliamentary, so any member can at any point stand up and speak in any language or change languages throughout their presentation. And the document has to reflect what it was said in the language that it was said, which is a little bit of a challenge currently. Everything is, today, as we speak, everything is transcribed manually. And these copies are, at the end of the day, there's a deadline of 9 p.m. They have to be available to the public, and they're published on the website and whatnot. Just to give you a sense of the effort that it takes, basically the department is about 30 people. They do just this. When I first joined, I would say it seems like a huge effort, but it is what it is. Basically, it's three types of, I guess, skills: the transcribers, the editors, and the proofreaders and publishers. And although clearly each one feeds on to each other type of thing. So there's a sequence. It's they divide the audio into smaller pieces. It's about 5 minutes. So the transcribers takes it and start working, and then they pass it to the editors and whatnot, and so on. And at the end, all those files somehow magically come together into a massive document. This is just to give you a sense, again, back to the effort. To basically produce 1 hour of House proceeding, it takes about 15 and a half hours of people's or person's hours, right? And clearly, the big effort is on the transcription, 9 hours of transcription. This is, so when we analyze this, clearly that makes it as a big target for AI type of thing, especially in the transcription, and that's why we we look into what can be done. There were other challenges that we face. Clearly, there's an ever-growing demand for having this documentation faster and faster every time. Sometimes the House would run longer, but the pressure still, the document has to be done at a certain time. It takes about between 95 to 100 hours to produce the document, pretty expensive document. We use closed captioning as an aid to that, but it's only partially helpful. And the other thing that we found, and what I talked earlier, is like there's no unstructured data and whatnot. So like we produce this document, but from a searchability perspective, et cetera, there's no metadata, nothing. So we thought about, okay, how could we break that up and basically enrich that data so it would be, I guess, a lot more useful. So we decided to embark in a project, and we set up some goals. I guess I thought they were aggressive at that point, but and we're still working on this. This is not so. We said, okay, well, we said, could we have a completely unedited version of it, what we call it a draft version, that it would be adequate enough for somebody reading to understand without necessarily deviations, understanding they could be perhaps misspellings or words incorrectly, but for the reader would clearly understand that was a and with that could be produced with a delay of 15 minutes. So a process that as the session it's being conducted, this document would be generated in the background, always with that delay of 15 minutes. So at the end, after 15 minutes after the session is adjourned, the document should be done. I mean, and we padded a couple hours just for final editings and whatnot. Clearly, back to our, this would create huge efficiencies for Hanser staff. And again, the idea would be so we can free up some people, especially the ones that they are the recorders, into other tasks like what, as I said, enriching the contents of this documentation. We fear this will bring some predictability to the process, right? So regardless of how late the House starts, you have a system, and if the system works, it should follow that. We would like to, as part of this, we are investigating, does AI allows us or give us the flexibility or the capability of perhaps doing some smart tagging. Where now, because we're linking this to timestamps, it would be easier to link it to video and whatnot. The ultimate goal is to produce some sort of an interactive document. We started the prototype. We use different type of files, clearly the audio visuals. Then we have a feed from the microphones that they were used. We started using OpenAI as the engine for the transcription. We achieved about 90% accuracy, and at that point, it kind of plateaued. It was very hard to get past that 91%. We found that, and I'll talk this a little bit, so in some cases, we also included some degree of a confidence factor of how well it was. So the engine would return some things, and we color-code it, and then we'll feed it back. So if somebody's reading the document, if you see paragraphs in yellow type of thing, at first you would say, okay, this paragraph perhaps is being reprocessed, and after a few minutes, it would change the color and says, okay, now I process it more than once, improving the accuracy of it. The other thing is we use also ChatGPT, but for a purpose that we wasn't intended. Our first result we came with, it was almost like a wall of text. So it was very accurate, but it was very hard to read because it was just text. So we find that we submitted it back to GPT, and ChatGPT does a great job, or did a great job, to break it up into paragraph and make it a lot more readable. So using AI for a simple purpose of just formatting the text, right? At that point, we opted not to train the model, although that's something we'll review in the future, simply because the early analysis that we did to move it from the 90 to 91% accuracy the effort was greater than what it took to go from 0 to 90. So we said, okay, well, let's see how well it works and see if it's... There was obstacles, clearly. New technology for our staff. When we started, knew nothing about it. Still know nothing, but we know more than when we started. There's the other thing that it was mentioned today. There's a lot of hype about, the word they mentioned, AI. Everybody thinks, okay, it can do it, and it should do it, and it's going to be fine the first time. Well, that's not quite the thing. The other thing is we have to change, because there's a culture today. You've seen it's a massive effort of people, but they produce a document that is book ready. So it's been revised and revised and revised. So they are expecting that type of quality, and we said, okay, well, you have to somehow compromise, right? If you want speed and super accuracy, it just does. So we're going through that I guess, process of, okay, what is adequate in order to gain speed versus something that is perfect, but it takes a long time, right? Speaker identification is a challenge, especially when there's crosstalk, people are talking over. They run into some hallucinations. The engine, when there's a pause, will wake up and it's kind of like, are you still there? That kind of stuff. So we have to work with that, removing the sounds. Proper nouns. Sorry. Proper nouns are difficult. And the other thing is like the French, right? In this case, the engine was very smart, but almost too smart for what we wanted, right? Because the engine would detect, for example, somebody speaking French, and it will start automatically translating into English with a high degree of, but that's not what we wanted. We wanted to stay in French, or when it starts in French, it will just keep on going in French and never come back to English. So that was another things that we had to work with the model. Some of the things, we dedicated teams to the development, work with higher management to basically let them kind of understand the limits of the tool. And I think that's something that I would, for any project, I would encourage you to be upfront. Again, executives, they hear AI and they think it's perfect, and it's not, or it takes a while. Clear definitions about what are the expectations. As I mentioned, we have to remove the silence off, so when there's a silence, we chop it off. We have to improve the model for French detection, and we aligned the time steps to reduce missing text. Out of that, we're looking at the three potential products. Actually, since this presentation, we added a fourth one. Like the first one is the AI draft answer, so a document that we know that it will contain an adequate number of errors, but still in almost near real time. And then using that perhaps as a feed for what it will become the final product, what they call the House answers and the committee answers. And the other project that we're studying in the earlier is what we call the interactive answer. And that's a document similar to what was presented today, that you can hover off the speaker and it will open up the profile. If there's legislation or quotes to other things, you hover over, and it also takes you to that legislation or whatever document happens to be. Also, in terms of enhancements, we're continue to explore the accuracy. We're starting to look into the potential of training the model and improving French detection. Lessons learned. You get fairly quickly to 90%, and then it stops, and it's very hard to pass that. Speaker identification, it's a challenge, and it will continue to be a challenge. Probably today, I would say one of the biggest challenge. And what that does, sometimes there is delays on activation of the mics, and that causes what is called bleeding over type of thing. So somebody's saying things as a starting off the next speaker and whatnot, when in fact it's not. We require post-processing for basic formatting, as I mentioned. And this is something that is evolving. That's why, I'm glad we continue to try, as we got we run into issues because the first time we came at it, it's kind of like, okay, this is never going to happen. And then we continue trying. The models are evolving at an incredibly fast pace. And I'm not saying that we're there, but we're a lot closer than when we were. And I believe that this is an area that certainly it will get even better. Just to show, I'm going to show you a quick video. Don't mind about the audience, but what I wanted to kind of simulate is how it works. And you will see while the speaker is presenting, the text, it moves, but it moves in chunks type of thing, because that's the unit that presents. And you will see, for example, at the bottom is on yellow, and as it processes, eventually it will change colors, meaning that is the document now. It's a high degree of accuracy. Don't worry, this is just 20 seconds, although 20 seconds is a long time when you're standing in front of an audience. But so as you see at the bottom is yellow. It's been processed, and now is that being processed, so it moves up to the next. All right, so that's all about Hansers. The next project that we're working on is use of generative AI in legislative research. So we have at the Assembly in Ontario, we have a dedicated group of researchers. They provide nonpartisan, in-house research for the members, member staff, and whatnot type of thing. This is on demand. is highly confidential. There's about 15 people in this group, and they have all kind of qualifications from people from finance, law, health, urban planners, and whatnot. And clearly, this is the basis for the work on the members. So what they did late in 2023 and 24, this group says, okay, well, let's start kicking the tires and see if AI can be used with accuracy for the research part. This is fairly tactical. This is we're not writing a white paper on this. I've seen some models that are fairly evolved. This is just us getting together and let's give it a kick and try type of thing. They set some priorities or some guidelines that says, okay, well, they wouldn't reuse any of the queries from before, just not to compromise anything. The work would not be published, though I'm kind of presenting, but without specifics type of thing, right? And so it's completely made up. The work, and they decided to focus on those different, areas, being from text, visual, audio, use it for legal and academics, but always with the focus of legislative research, right? So that was. So in terms of the types, they look at general text. For example, for the summarization of large documents, and early brainstorms for the research as a tool that it wouldn't necessarily do the research, but it will point them to sources that then they can basically go and do that much quicker. For visual generation, they look at basically two types of utilizations. One is generate images to complement the research, right? So images that it would be fairly specific to illustrate some of the research. And the other one is for design tools, right? Building infographics or illustration of facts and things like that. Same thing for using audio, generating research for audio purposes. And finally, legal and academic research, summary of legislation, jurisdictional, cross-jurisdictional research, and whatnot type of thing. So these are where the results from top to bottom. Clearly, what they found is like for a general text summarization is, thank you. So the relevance, again, is the relevance to the process of legislative research, the performance is a quality metric in terms of, high being really good and medium and low being not so good. So clearly, for document summarization is really useful for a researcher. They find it's really accurate, and the key is because you control the inputs, and this is something for generative AI is kind of key. It's directly proportional. If you control the inputs that you submit to the engine, the results are going to be equally accurate type of thing. So for a researcher to be able to digest large number of documents and perhaps then offer a second half or concentrate on some documents that they seem to be interested, is a tool that they feel that it could be a great accelerator for what they do. From a visual generation, embedding design tools, this is medium, and again, this is about the infographics or presenting some data and illustrate it in a way that it was visually appealing. It's useful, but it was very accurate as well. And again, reflects to, if you give them the numbers, it will work with those numbers and with that universe of numbers. So the results are really good for them. Academic research and legal research, both are, they found, for what they do, the relevance was kind of medium, simply because like both academics and legal, they use specific database, and they're very focused for that, legal and academic. And that's not the quality of research that they use type of thing. It was very detailed, and that's why it doesn't mean that it's bad, but for what alleged research does, it was not great. And on legal research, they found that it made sometimes mistake interpreting law, especially when it came to cross-jurisdictional things. It says, oh, this applies. Well, it doesn't apply to you. It applies to another region or another country and whatnot. And in the lower part, visual generation, this is images, just illustration. And they said on this one, although it would be nice to the ability to generate text or charts to illustrate the quality was not good. It's funny, but like always, the graphs contain some sort of errors that it would kind of it would not look good for this type of quality of research. Chat box, not really useful for research. They found that after a while, they kept repeating themselves. And the other thing I attach is like the unpredictability of the things. You ask one question, wait, you ask the same question, completely different answer, And audio generation, not really relevant for the type of work that the team does. So in terms of next steps, they clearly see that there's value in continue investigating. We are going to focus on a tool, Copilot. It's part of the Microsoft suite. And the ability is to see if we can, again, accelerate the work of the research. Clearly, they recognize that there's value on what the tool can offer. And the things that they're going to focus is on can the tool generate material that is to the quality required for what they do? Is it sufficiently accurate that it doesn't take as long as the researcher to basically validate the input, because otherwise we'll be neglecting the benefits of it. The other thing is provide control over the material to being consulted, and that's for what they do is key. You can't do this type of research blindly in terms of like, okay, just research anything, trusted, not trusted documents and whatnot. So they have to make sure that they have a good handle on what's included and what is not. And ultimately, it's like, in the end, show me the money, right? This is like, is it going to be producing tangible results for the department? Interconclusions, and we already talked about this, and this is not just for, it's dangerous to mistake general AI with research type of thing. General AI is based on in materials that they found. If research is find it in authoritative sources, as every research has to be, you have to be able to reference to the source. Those things sometimes with some engines is not possible. Okay, there's a responses. That should be one point, but it requires training, and this is what the other thing is. What the researchers found, that you have to learn how to prompt for the right questions and whatnot type of thing. And that seems easy, but once you get into the more details of it, it's key. And they, the other thing is can we, you gotta, this work represents your department type of thing. So you gotta make sure that this tool will represent your values, represent the quality of your work and everything you do, right? So we have to train the members, and the other thing is we would like the industry to move to a little bit more of a transparent today it's seen as a little bit too much of a black box. I think you give it and I give you the results, and there's the limited traceability of how it arrives to those and whatnot. For these tools to be really, really useful, I think the industry has to improve in areas that allows you to, or give you some guidance or some clarity in terms of how those results are processed and whatnot type of thing. And with that, I conclude my presentation.